Hi, I haven't been on my YouTube channel in a while, so it's my first day back on YouTube. I've been on Facebook, but we're going to try to do it like this in addition to YouTube. So we'll see. We'll see how this works. In a moment, I'll be turning on my Facebook page. We'll see, right? So I'm just getting started a minute early here on YouTube before I transition. So I hope if you tune in, you don't go away just yet because it's going to get better. It's going to get more exciting, I think. Just momentarily, it's going to get wow. Okay? So don't go away. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Now I'm live on YouTube and I'm live on Facebook. Let the games begin. Yes, indeedy. All right, everybody. Welcome. I had intended to prepare for this evening, but I was unable to do so. So let's see. Take a moment. Don't anybody go away. I had noise coming from the other room. I had to stop it. All right. So what have I done wrong here on Facebook? Okay, there's nobody on Facebook that I know. Hi, Chris and Becky. And so let me explain. I'm going to, what I'm doing is, so one of the topics is YouTube. I'm going to be gentle. By that I mean I'm going to give you my YouTube live stream and see. So here's what happened. It didn't happen to me. It happened to a friend, but it was a cautionary tale. So I've been podcasting and I have some friends that for whatever reason are not on YouTube. And the account had come up. Wait a minute. What does that mean? Google.com, YouTube. Anyways, I don't even know. Does anybody know? Hi, Ann. Mark, if he's there. So I don't know if this will take you to the YouTube channel. I don't know what I'm doing. But I'm going to tell you why I'm doing it, even though I don't know what I'm doing. So there was some inquiries about, was there another way to access my podcast other than Facebook? So there's two possibilities. One is these people can't access Facebook or they won't. And I thought it was legitimate. And so I asked my daughter to come over yesterday and show me how to take a previous podcast and put it on my YouTube channel that I have. And it's very cumbersome. Hi, Scott. It's a very cumbersome process. For instance, first I have to go to a former podcast. I have to capture the link. I have to put the link in another app. That app downloads it to that app. Then I have to take that link. I have to put it in my computer. Then I have to I have to take YouTube and go and load it on YouTube. Cumbersome. It's going to take a long time. So, and there's really two issues, going past and going forward. So I decided to cut out Law and Disorder on Facebook, where I was simulcasting, and now I'm going to simulcast on YouTube. It's the channel I've always had. Here's more about this whole endeavor. So I have a friend who had a Facebook account, and she was active on Facebook. She woke up 3-4 days ago, and it said, your account's been disabled for violating community standards. And it gave her no access back. She can't access anything. She disappeared from my friend list. She doesn't exist on Facebook. So she was trying to follow procedure in order to kind of capture get back. So how could she do that, right? So it said, if your account's been disabled, fill out this form and submit it to us if you think it's an error. So she did that, and what she got back was, oh, you were disabled. There is no going back. So it's like a setup. In other words, Facebook says, fill this form out. But I think the reason it says that is because they're just that way. They don't even have to look at it. It just automatically rejects you. So days have gone by. You can't call Facebook. You can email, but you don't get any response. So she cautioned me. She said, I haven't done anything and I've been disabled. What happens if you're disabled? You're controversial. You could get disabled any moment. Well, I've got hundreds and hundreds of photos, videos. I got a lot of stuff on Facebook. So I decided starting today that I will simulcast on my YouTube channel, which I posted here up above. And hopefully I know enough about what I'm doing. If you check out the YouTube channel at any time, it also has a chat thing that you can use just as you did. Scott, that is too many steps, but that's what my daughter came up with after she researched it. So I'm not going to get into too many steps. If you have a shorter version, that's fine. But we both researched it. You need a third-party app. You can't go from Facebook to YouTube. You can't just take anything from your Facebook and put on YouTube. You have to be able to do other steps. So thank you for observing the too many steps, but so far we don't know any less steps. So on with the shoe. So I posted about this because I really realized how vulnerable we are. And think about this. I'm not suggesting we get off of Facebook. I've had a lot of people say, "Oh, you need to get off Facebook. It's scandalous what they're doing, and they're going to charge money, and we all need to go somewhere else." Well, here's my response that I've always given: I'm not going anywhere else. I'm 68 years old. It took me years to get a handle on Facebook, and through Facebook, I found a number of you. Scott just rejoined us in Tucson, Arizona, and quickly we started seeing each other. Lisa found me on Facebook, and Chris and we met out there somewhere, but it was through somebody I kind of met on Facebook. We rode together. Kathy I've known, but this has been a significant connection. So I started, so I've always said, listen, I've got friends that go back over 50 years on Facebook, and I don't have phone numbers. If somebody shut me down on Facebook, I would lose a significant number of persons that I have been in contact with, that I'm comfortable being in contact with, that I enjoy being in contact with. And I've got all these different parts of my life here. I got Local Motion. When I worked with kids, a lot of those people are, I keep looking over there, but I should be looking over here. Anyways, should be looking straight at. What was I saying? Oh, so I've got the kids. They're not kids anymore. They're in the 50s that I worked with the Local Motion when I was a street worker. I've got there's some grade school friends on here that I haven't seen since grade school. I've got some high school friends, and I went to a couple of different high schools. I got at least even boarding school in 1967 that I have on Facebook. I can't just walk away from Facebook, nor do I have any intention of just walking away from Facebook. It's not going to happen. But what I do need to do is I do need to safeguard, so to speak, my investment in Facebook. I need to safeguard the way that I have downloaded, for instance, all the so many photos from Thailand. I think they're in my computers, but they'd be spread out. I had a laptop when I was in Thailand. I came home. I put some of it on my desktop. But a lot of it is on Facebook because people were following me in Thailand on Facebook. And yes, Bernadette. Oh, let's see. 84 to 94. Yep, we made it, Bernadette, over 30 years. So I don't want to get off Facebook, but I don't want everything I've done here to be compromised. My friend cannot access anything right now, and we don't know if she'll ever get back on Facebook. There is no assurance. And what if Facebook, I don't know, crashed? What if there's so many possibilities that I've kind of thought about. For instance, where are they putting all these freaking photos? You know who's bad? There are monks I know, and they're not just monks, but I noticed it with a few monks. They will go on a photographing spree. There'll be an event, and they will just take lots of pictures, and they don't particularly want to sit there and go through them and pick out the best ones. They just dump them right into Facebook. It could be 40, could be 50, could be 100, literally. I'm not going to go through them. So when they do that, I'm just like, okay. So I try to go through, like, when I was in Thailand, I'd spend a day. Oh man, I might take 100 photographs because there were days I went to 3, 4 magnificent temples or go in the mountains or whatever. And I would go back to the temple at night, my temple, and I would go through it and I would pick out what I thought kind of was representational of the best of the day. And I would download those to Facebook. And I'm not really sure where the rest of them are. I don't know if they're still on my laptop or did I delete them. I haven't looked yet. I will. But Ginny, it's my friend Ginny. She's a realtor. She's a good friend. And she called me today and said, what will you do if you're disabled? What would happen? Look. And she's not, Ginny, who's been here in podcast, Ginny's been a friend since I moved here 9 years ago. How do you, she would reach out to me. She might text me and say, you need to calm down. I see your Facebook. You're too riled up. You're going to get yourself thrown off. Screw all my, I'm the one that's usually agitated and taking risk. She's pretty moderate. She's vehemently anti-Trump, but in the way she posts, no. So how did she get kicked off? We don't know. You can't find out, by the way. When I got shut down on Facebook for a day, they said, you violate community standards, you're done for a day. That was okay. It said on this date. It also said, this is your second violation. That's why you're being suspended. I'm like, what was my first violation? So there was a link I clicked and it said, on March 3rd. Well, that was 6 months earlier. And the post is gone because I violated. I have no idea what I did. I don't know what my first violation was. Haven't a clue. So her cautionary tale rings true for all of us. Some Facebook facts. The world population stands at 7.5 billion. Facebook has 2.5 billion users. 28% of the Earth's human population is on Facebook, right? Listen, in Bernadette, in Thailand, this is how you make a phone call. Everybody didn't always have SIM card or hadn't paid on SIM. And when I say anybody, I only talk to monks. Sometimes the monks just didn't have enough money to renew their SIM card, and they might go a week or so before they got enough money. And so the only way to reach them was if they were somewhere where there was Wi-Fi. You called on Facebook. It was easier for them. It was simpler. And I was calling the States on Facebook's video calls, right? In fact, it was on Facebook video that I first contacted the monk in Thailand and asked him about coming to visit. So we use it, but we also, most of us have cell phones that operate exclusively off of the towers, the cell phone towers. We have a SIM card or whatever it is, and we have a plan. Most of us don't go for weeks without the actual plan, but the monks do. Now, if I knew about it, sometimes I would help out, but you don't always know about it. They don't tell you my SIM card expired. They just stop making phone calls that way. Well, they don't actually make phone calls that way anyways. They make phone calls. They don't want to use up data. So if they can make a phone call, I would usually, if I'm in my room, this is the God's truth. I'm sitting in my room. It's almost 10 o'clock, right? a.m. And we would leave about 10 a.m. and go to the university. It was not uncommon because a lot of times I'm just chilling, man. I'm waiting. I would get a phone call on Facebook. Hey, Ken, where you at? We're ready to go. Okay, be right there. So It's not hard to believe 28% of Earth's human population is on Facebook. It's incredible, right? And because of that, I will say two things in their behalf. You got 2.5 billion users. Answering the phone's not going to work, right? It's overkill. Same thing with Amazon, right? You don't want to answer emails if you can help it. It's too many people, right? Even though it's a fabulously wealthy company and they could surely do a lot more in terms of customer service. But if this works, why would they change it, right? And then the next thing is, and Ginny and I talked about this after January 6th. The FBI is probably all up Facebook's ass looking for stuff that will implicate people. So they're probably right now a little distracted at the moment with trying to accommodate subpoenas or whatever requests have been made, whether they've been made in the form of a subpoena, an informal request, whatever it is. So this is probably this is just a tough time to be stranded. I don't intend to get stranded to the point where, listen, if I lose Facebook for whatever reason, I violate community standards, I'm just an idiot, I do something, it doesn't matter. But I can't control that. But I can control my photos, my videos, my whatever, right? So that's why, as of tonight, I'm going to do two things. One, I'm going to live stream on my YouTube channel, Ken Goldberg's Law and Disorder channel, and that will hold it as a video. I got a channel, so I don't have to take it off of Facebook and put it on YouTube. Since I'm simulcasting, that will be taken care of. And then I believe, in terms of Google, I believe I can move all my photos or copy all my photos to Google. It may be unnecessary. I may have a lot of these photos, but some I just thought, on Facebook, it's not that important. Tying up space on my computer, tying up space on my phone. My whole ordination is on Facebook, right? Scott, who's listening today, Scott May, he took a number of photos at my ordination, and some of those photos are now on Facebook. I have, what do you call it? An album that's called My Ordination, right? So I'm just putting it out there that we all, because all of you use Facebook, or you wouldn't be here listening to me. You all have Facebook accounts. You all have posted things that you probably found sentimental, or you received something you may have been sentimental. You're connected. The whole point of my fireside chat, which I'll just go back to the Law and Disorder since I'm going to be on YouTube, is the whole thing was community and connection. And I don't know of anything that does it better than the community that was created via Facebook. And through Facebook, I was able to create this connection at 6 p.m. nightly so that I could visit with you people in the time of the pandemic. So I have this, I have an attachment, right? The Buddha would probably discourage me from having this attachment, but Buddha's not here right now. And until he gets back, I'm going to, no, he's not coming back. That's Christianity. No. So I'm just trying to nurture this community that I have grown to participate in, admire. I have great affection for my Facebook community. I have 700 and something friends. Some of those people aren't really friends. They're friends of friends, but somehow they got on. I probably have, though, at least 300-400 that are genuinely, I know them, I care about them. If they post a picture about their kid, I would like on it. If they said it was their birthday, I'll send a happy birthday greeting. Bernadette was gone from my life for years. She moved to California. We both lived in Chicago. She moved to California. I moved to Dallas, boom, pow, found her. And outside of Facebook, we haven't had any contact in a long time. So that's just an example. And everybody here, well, some of you maintain more control over who's going to be your friend and how you use Facebook. You're not quite as open as I am. Not very many people are, but I'm posting my rides, right? Now my rides are preserved on Garmin GPS that I use on my bike. All of those are saved. I post them so I can just like, hey, look where I went today. But that stuff is saved. Thank you. But I just cannot afford to be suddenly disabled, is the word they used with her. And isn't that kind of frightening? Isn't that something that we could be disabled and physically not disabled, but we could be emotionally disabled? Imagine the time of the pandemic. If you couldn't get onto Facebook, your isolation would be exacerbated. That's sweet, Bernadette. Bernadette and I have a mutual connection. My first wife, whom I haven't talked to in quite a while, and she had a husband, I had a wife. We made it. The husbands and wives didn't make it. So Scott went away for a number of years. He's told me I have permission to share that he spent a number of years in prison. He got back out. He got back on Facebook. Hey, Scott, how you doing? Now I know he's out. I don't know when I would have known he was out, because he's in Tucson. I'm in Dallas. When last I saw him, we were both in Tucson. How would I have known? Anyways, I've hunted people down on Facebook that I wanted to find, that I wanted to see. I did. I'm very pleased with it. So I'm not a Facebook rebel. I'm just putting all this out there in an effort to alert you that, one, we are vulnerable to the whims of algorithms, that by definition, since you are listening to this, you are vulnerable. Two, to make you aware that YouTube will be operational. Kathy knows Debbie in Florida. They're good friends. Debbie usually listens in on my Law and Disorder page, but I can't. I used to do 3 screens. I can't. So I got not rid of, but I'm not broadcasting on Ken Goldberg's Law and Disorder on Facebook. Going to use YouTube. And because, it was redundant. Now I have this new venue, or this new use venue. All right. So done. Moving on. QAnon. Ginny called me. She want to know, what do you think of QAnon? I'm like, crazy. She says, do you know how crazy they are? I said, really crazy? And then, she's just one of many that's talking about what's going on. QAnon is probably, we talk about Proud Boys because they're openly racist, but the real truth is Proud Boys is new. They're small. They don't have a great deal of influence, at least not yet. But QAnon seems to have taken on a feverish pitch for a lot of people. And what's really destructive about it is they have so many conspiratorial beliefs. They have so many religious fervor of these beliefs. And people, listen, when you see somebody now who's been caught or is communicating on social media about raiding the Capitol, the U.S. Capitol, you saw a lot of QAnon signs at the insurrection. A lot of those people believed with a religious fervor that they were supposed to be there, that gestures that were made during the rally before they marched on the Capitol meant something, that if Trump did this, they interpret that to mean something. I mean, it is so freaky, so off the wall, that we can only cross our fingers and hope against hope that one of two things: either they all just drink Kool-Aid and go to sleep, or that they are deactivated by the FBI. I don't think, from what I'm hearing, that there's going to be some sort of deprogramming of the QAnon supporters. They're much larger than Proud Boys. They're probably much larger than the Klan at this point. They are feverishly engaged in protecting Trump. They believe in him as a religious figure. They see him as a God chosen. This is very dangerous stuff. So have your antenna up and be aware of what you need to keep an eye out for. Because if QAnon comes to your hometown, so to speak, if they start showing up at your rallies, you should be knowledgeable. You should make sure you've read some of the information that's out there about who they are. The federal government is working. They're working feverishly to find out more about them because so many of their supporters, I mean, we're talking military, we're talking former military, we're talking law enforcement, we're talking former law enforcement. I can only assure you that everything I am hearing about QAnon from my security sources and from the media is that they're dangerous, and they don't even maybe know yet how dangerous they are. So we had an impeachment hearing. I posted something about the meanings on Facebook today about terminology such as insurrection and stuff like that will be utilized in the coming days. So you could look through my Facebook and see some of that, and you'll get it. So so in the link today was to Last Kiss. I don't know how many of you remember the song Last Kiss by J. Frank Wilson. I bought the 45 twice. The first time I lost it, I went back to the store. You all remember when you could go buy 45s for what, about $1 or something? I don't remember. Anyways, there was one on 71st and Clyde, and I would go there and I would buy 45s. I had 2 boxes of 45s at one time. So J. Frank Wilson was the first 45 I ever bought. I had 45s already because I told you I inherited 45s from my brother and my sisters. So when they went off to college, they rarely had the I don't know how you say, they didn't have the foresight to take them. They didn't care. I don't know. So for instance, Tom Dooley by Kingston Trio would have been before my time in a sense. I had the 45. I had the Shirelles. I had a bunch of people that technically preceded me, but I had their 45s and spinning them, baby. I was spinning them. So, but then I started my own collection. I remember buying Took to walking past your house late last night. Silhouettes by Herman's Hermits. What was called Teenage Tragedies? Last Kiss? Joan, is that what you're referring to? Yeah, I'm just, Teenage Tragedies. Certainly not talking about Tom Dooley. Hang down your head, Tom Dooley. Hang down your head and cry, boy. Now, I'm so confused about Teenage Tragedies. I never heard this. I know that Pearl Jam redid Last Kiss, by the way, under the title Last Kiss. I had Silhouettes. I had Herman's. I had most of Herman's Hermit stuff. I probably had some Monkey stuff, but I did have the Monkees album. Rudy Valley and the Four Seasons had some of their stuff. I was getting down, man. We talked about it before, WLS, WFLD, or something like that. All right, so I ran out of material, man. I was just winging it. So go ahead and make your comments. If you want to check out the YouTube while it's still up, and you want to make a comment there, you're welcome to. I assume I did this right. I'm going to post it again because It was a compilation album of dopey, sad teenage songs, including Last Kiss. All right, that makes more sense, by the way. I think I did this right this time. No, I don't know what I did. Anyways, you had a crush on Peter Noone. Kathy had a crush on Peter Noone. He was the lead singer for Herman's Hermits. He was cute as all get out, wasn't he? I mean, I recognized how cute he was. He was a handsome guy with the bangs that came down to here. I think they called it the Beatle cut back then, right? Dopey, sad teenage songs. I would probably, if you asked me to vote, because my memory's not good, I think Last Kiss was probably the saddest teenage song I ever owned. I thought it was tremendously poignant, right? You know, the other one was Patches. Patches by, I think, Clarence Carter. And then Billy Joe jumped off the Tallahatchie Bridge. That was a sad one, right? You know, the one where people died. They didn't just break up. You know, there's people dying. You know, that seemed to make it more poignant. Then you fell in love with Smokey Robinson from Smokey Robinson and the Miracles. Yep. Well, I don't remember falling in love with a lot of singers back then, but Lulu rang my bell. Lulu, she was on To Serve With Love, and I thought she was cute, and Leader of the Pack was a good one, not as poignant as Last Kiss, you know. That was more of a leader, you know, whereas, where can my baby be, right? You know what I'm saying, right? Leader of the Pack was more, you know, this is a different, just a different category to me. Yeah, I liked Lulu. I think I liked Downtown, Petula Clark, and Leslie Gore. It's my party and I'll cry. Leslie Gore admirably did what I considered the first feminist song of Don't Tell Me What to Do. I don't know if that was the name of it, but you know what I'm talking about. Don't tell me what to do. Don't tell what to say, right? And I love the line. And don't put me on display, dude. So, yeah. Thank y'all for those fond memories and knock it out of the park. You know, there's nothing Smokey did back then that, you know, you didn't have to have, man. Smokey was with the Temptations, with the Four Tops. They were tearing it up. Yeah. You Don't Own Me. Is that the name of the song? Yeah. Okay, look at the women all know this. Ray Dean and Joan jumping in. Hell, I know exactly which song you're talking about. Dude, You Don't Own Me. Wasn't that a great jam? I mean, how, you know, when you look back to the year that she did it, Leslie Gore, who sang It's My Party, which is kind of a, you know, pop song, but she sang You Don't Know Me, and it's a beautiful song, and she's a beautiful voice. She had a real range, but my God, when you listen to the lyrics, you're like, yeah, girl, go ahead on with your bad self. Power to the girls, power to the women. Yeah. So the list of tunes that trigger memories, the list of tunes that carried us, that catapulted us. The psychedelic era, for those of you that are too young, catapulted us into a whole new domain of sight and sound, literally. And you know, there was music that when you listened to it, you wanted to be on LSD. The Grateful Dead. I don't like the Grateful Dead when I'm straight. If I'm tripping, I think the Grateful Dead are like, oh my God, they're the best group ever, right? Vanilla Fudge, You Keep Me Hanging On, the psychedelic version, right? Look at the Temptations' later album, Psychedelic Shack. If you haven't heard Psychedelic Shack when you're high, you haven't heard Psychedelic Shack. Period, right? Take a stroll through your mind. Sometime you'd be surprised at what you might find. Oh yeah. So yeah, man, it doesn't just define a time. it landed up defining us, didn't it? Am I going too far on my admiration of music? No, of course I'm not. And I don't need your approval. I'm telling you, music did not only define the time, it came to define who we were. You know, if you couldn't get in the rhythm and blues, then the chances are you couldn't be my friend. If you couldn't sit and really adore rhythm and blues, soul music, then it would be hard to have been my friend because that was a significant portion of my music. On the other hand, you also had to be able to do Led Zeppelin and Jefferson Airplane and a bunch of those people. Sly and the Family Stone, right? Man, I'm having flashbacks right now about the first time I heard the Temptations, the album before Psychedelic Shack, Runaway Child, maybe. Maybe that was the name of the album. Anyways, I was listening to it and I didn't know who I was listening to because I was tripping. And so one minute I said, "Oh, that's Temps." And then I thought, "No, it's the Supremes." And then I thought, "No, it's the Temps." You know, because they got that falsetto thing that was going on, and I was high, and I was like, "Wow, you know, runaway child, running wild. Better go back home where you belong." And I was a runaway, so of course, I'm like, "Oh yeah," you know. Anyways, I should wrap it up because I seem to have lost y'all. Nobody seems to be publishing their favorite music. Uh, y'all were on a tear there for a moment. I was with you. You were stimulating my memory banks, which are, by the way, mostly have died. That thing that controls memory, I think it didn't atrophy because I'm always trying to remember stuff. I think it just gets old, and when it gets old, like anything else, it loses its elasticity, like my tummy. Right? I used to be able to work out until I could do this thing called a six pack. Right? My stomach would be tight, and now I could have muscles on my muscles. I could have muscles on my stomach. You wouldn't know it. I have no elasticity in the skin like I used to have. So, first trip was This Is the End by the Doors. Yeah, that's a good one. Our music was the best music. So, a little thing about the Doors. So, I went to Berkeley. I told y'all that the Chicago Police Department had organized a dragnet for me. It was a touchy time for Ken Goldberg. And I decided that instead of going to prison in Illinois, I would go to California. I thought it sounds like a better option. And so when I got there, I used to go to Berkeley. I was staying in San Francisco. I used to hitchhike every day over to Berkeley. And when I got to Berkeley, we would sit on the campus, and there was a guy who wore leather pants, no shirt, frizzy hair, guitar, and he'd play the Doors all day long. And he looked like Jim Morrison. So the wall of sound by that crazy dude, Phil Spector, was crazy. But the wall of sound was that his, what do you call it? His studio, the wall of sound? I don't remember a song, Wall of Sound. Was there? Tell me, Bernadette. So I used to watch this guy mimicking Jim Morrison. He was really good at it. And if you've ever been to Berkeley, to the campus, University of California, Berkeley, and Telegraph Avenue, where every burnout who ever escaped from other parts of the country and showed up in Berkeley, it was pretty crazy. 1983, A Merman I Should Turn to Be. Is that a song? Are you just messing with me? You people just now you're just messing with me. What? A song recorded in 1968. Oh, Jimi Hendrix. You know, I don't know the names of most of this stuff. I just know it when I hear it, right?
The Bachelor is
No. Stop with the noise. I'm trying to pull up a Merman, whatever. Let's see. No, that's not her. I skipped.
The Bachelor is back.
Look at me. You got me so engrossed.
YouTube TV.
Come on, baby. Oh, this is behind the scenes. Well, I screwed that up. Oh, smoking, tripping. Oh, is that it?
This is 1983.
Oh, the Ronettes. Yeah. Kathy, you trip song for sure. Mark, thank you. Jimi Hendrix plus LSD equaled one groovy evening. Pew, pew. I went to see him in 1967 at the Coliseum, and I didn't know it was 1967. I went back and looked, and I'm like, it was 67 or 68. So I was either 15 or 16 or 14 or 15. I'm like, I don't believe they let me out to go to concerts at that age. I must have already been a runaway. The Platters, the Ronettes, all-girl, and all the all-girl groups. You know, I mean, obviously the Springs defined the all-girl group, but there were the Marvelettes, the Shirelles, you know, the list was significant. And, you know, there was a, how you say, when you're talking about a ball team, right? They talk about the bullpen being deep. They got a lot of guys that can come in at any time and play the game. You know, there were some hefty female groups that carried a lot of weight, could come in at any time and knock the ball out of the park. The Chi-Lites, by the way, who were quasi-psychedelic at times. The Chi-Lites were a Chicago group. Well, thank you all. Thank you. We need to do this again because, like, for instance, Mark just turned me on to a song I haven't heard in years that was a staple in my repertoire. The album was. But I didn't care the names of his songs. Except for Hey Joe, you had to know that. I didn't care. There was nothing Jimi Hendrix was doing that I didn't love. You never did LSD because you were too afraid. And you know what? A certain healthy fear of LSD was warranted. You know, people had some bad trips. I didn't have the kind of trip that ever stopped me from taking it. I just stopped naturally. But, we talked about hallucinogens about a week ago, and I say this. You got to be ready to let go of control. I mean, LSD, there were moments on LSD when you saw something and knew its connectedness. You saw the picture on the wall moving. Well, that picture wasn't really moving, that painting. It really wasn't moving. But molecularly, it was comprised of all these atoms and molecules that, comprised the paint, that comprised the canvas. And then, that melted into the wall that it was mounted on, or the frame, and then the wall. And then the wall was attached to the floor, and the floor was attached to the outside. And you saw it. You saw it. And you knew its truth. You knew in that moment that these things really were connected. Yes, it was a figment of your imagination that was being stimulated by psychedelics, but it was also real. I still believe to this day in this interconnectedness. I still believe that what I saw was factual, and I say that not having ever taken a psychedelic trip that was managed. In other words, I never had a guide. I just started taking LSD. I didn't even know what it was when I took the first hit at 15. Nobody even told me. I mean, I'd heard about it in the newspaper. Didn't do any research. A guy took a tablet out of his wallet and said, this was my sister sent me this. I'm afraid to take it. Anybody, you want to try it? And I'm like, give it to me. And I popped it. So I was a little maverick, a little cavalier about it. And I don't know that that's the best way. I'm lucky. I'm lucky in that I didn't have something that made my mind just melt, because I met some people, not too many, but there are people that seem to have triggered schizophrenia for them. You, Bernadette, are a solid citizen. I wouldn't hesitate to trip with you. I'm sure you would do fine. You're not ego-driven. You're not You're not so far out, you know. You're kind of far. You're so far out. You're in. So you, I wouldn't worry about. I've met people that I would go, yeah, no, no psychedelics for you. And if you do psychedelics, it won't be with me. So, not that you're asking me to take a trip with you. I'm just telling you, I would have done it then without reservation. And since I'm probably going to trip again before I die, I probably would trip with you before I die. If you want to join me at Yosemite, out in this meadow, that's I can't remember where it is, but I'm going back there. I'm gonna lay on the ground with a mushroom. You don't have to do LSD, by the way. LSD is a little long. I think mushroom. Perfect note to end the show on. Perfect note. Connectedness. Well, if you did psilocybin and you loved it, you really did the equivalent of LSD, Bernadette. You're aces, man. Of course you loved it. All right. You are a member of the psychedelic generation now. I thought maybe you missed out. You didn't miss out on shit. All right. So let's wrap it up with some metta. Perfect thing. What a segue to go from recognizing the interconnectedness of everything in the universe to its molecular structure to manifesting it in the way that we practice loving kindness and goodwill. I bring my hands together before my heart. I bow my head. I close my eyes, and I encourage you to do the same. And I think to myself, may I be happy, healthy, free from harm. May I be free from anger, anxiety, and fear. May this practice lead me to a life of greater peace and comfort. May my mother and father, wherever they are, in my case, they've long passed, and may all my living family members, for me, that's sisters and a brother and nephews and nieces, daughters, be happy, be healthy, be free from harm. May they too find the path to freedom from all suffering. And to my friends, such as are here tonight and all everywhere else, may you know the affection I carry in my heart. May you be happy and healthy, free from harm, living lives, comfort and peace. May all those persons I find difficult for whatever reason, whatever resentments or ill will I harbor, let me release that judgment so that those persons know that I wish them to be happy and healthy, living lives of comfort, peace, and joy. And to all living beings, humans and non-humans, wherever you may be, whatever they may be, may we radiate goodwill so that all living beings are happy, healthy, free from harm. May all living beings live safely, comfortably, and in peace. Satu, Satu, Satu. Well, thank you, Kathy, Chris, Mark, Bernadette, Joan, Becky, Mark and Ann, Kathy, Ray Dean. Anybody who's stuck around, man, you're the best. You really are. Scott, if he's still there. Lisa dropped in. She probably dropped out. All right. I hope that you'll see me on YouTube sometimes also. Peace out.